Hello, everybody. You are at Flatspell Tales. This is a channel for discussing the art of writing short stories, reading short stories, crafting them, anything about creative writing. Um, this this channel, this website and channel here was started a few years ago when I realized I was feeling kind of landlocked in the valley. I'm a surfer and was kind of getting restless. And I had written a bunch of short stories and poems and needed a way to express myself and have an outlet and a place to just put everything together. And I've been working on Flatspell Tales since it's 5 to 6 years. I think February of 2017. We're going on 6 years here, or a little past 6 years. So today I'm going to be doing a reading of the short story Malady Mahi. And it's about a 5 to 10 minute read with the purpose of deconstructing it in part two and explaining from beginning to end the craft of putting this together, what went into it, the pieces of reality, some of the craft of writing, the perspective. So I'm just going to jump right into it. This is part one, and then in part two, which I don't know if I'm going to get to that today or a little bit later, you can also see how the short story was written. And if you want to follow along, you can go to New English Review, type in my name. It's a literary journal. It's a cultural literary journal, international in the UK and here. But it's June 20th under Tony Martello. The title is Malady Mahi, and I'm going to read it right off the screen here today. Okay, thanks for listening in. I used to wonder why I wouldn't get seasick on my surfboard, but every time I took a boat ride outside of the bay, I would turn whiter than any Midwestern tourist on his first day of vacation in Hawaii. I would desperately attempt to focus on the horizon with that salty sailor confidence that Ralph had, but would eventually hurl over the side, feeding the South Pacific fish the wrong kind of food. Ralph didn't need badges. His nautical smile and wrinkles on his skin spoke of many journeys out to sea. His stories, however, were out of this world. Whenever my mom would announce that she would be cooking chicken enchiladas with verde and red sauce, he was there, and he would bring an exciting adventure or story each time he came for dinner. One time he told my brother and I about, and my sister, as all of us there, he told us about how he was spearfishing for parrotfish on the south side of Kauai when a tiger shark circled above him. As you can imagine, we were just like, wow. He had a big belt around his waist, he would describe, where he kept his catch. And while diving for more fish, the shark sensed it and came in, circled him, and then it started to follow him. And he would act out the story how he had to unleash his belt, decoy the shark about 30 feet away from him, and then swim up for air, and then go back down and hide and below the reef. And so he kept us hanging on edge dramatically, acting out how he would repeat this dive to get air, stay away from the shark, decoy it. And so that story blew our minds. We couldn't believe how he could even survive these encounters. Another time, another story, he blew our minds when he told us about how he took a charter boat out with some guests, and then there was a tourist expecting to catch some fish. They were going for like tuna, ahi, or mahi, or whatever, and they realized he'd hooked into a big piece of squid that had huge triangular teeth marks across it, like 8 inches apart. The points of the teeth were 8 inches apart, indicating a huge shark, way bigger than any, 10 to 20 foot great white. His smile glistened, large and mysterious, and he said, "There are no sharks anywhere caught on record with teeth that big," he would tell us. We asked him several more questions like, "Did you ever see the squid?" or "What was the biggest shark you ever caught?" Not only was he a real fisherman, but the most exciting stories, he was also, with the most exciting stories, he was also a stylish surfer too. So as you can imagine, Ralph was our hero because he could hang 10 in the barrel, surfed just really well, captivate us, and he had the best stories. As I grew older, I began surfing along the lava cliffs where big, black, jagged chunks of old extinct volcano were sprinkled across the reef. The comfort of my surfboard between me and the razor sharp coral made me feel a little protected, but I always surveyed the scene and the horizon for more danger. You're always looking for, sea animals and boats and things like that. I paddled back to the lineup where the waves would crest and roll across the reef like hollow glass cylinders. And in between sets of waves, I sat on my board and I looked up on the cliff ahead of me, and I noticed there were three people. There was a man and a woman and a child. They're probably about 10 years old. They were gazing over the cliff, looking down into the foamy waves crashing against the rocks. I saw the adolescent throw something into the ocean. The family watched the object for about 15 minutes and then left, walked back to their car. I noticed. I caught a few more waves and then paddled into shore. While shuffling along the inside reef to the sand, I saw Ralph in his charter boat taking out another group of tourists to the Nepali coast for spectacular views of exciting fishing. I walked back to my truck and drive to Honolulu Coffee Company to finish my term paper. I ordered some extra dark coffee, had some banana papaya pancakes, and then I dove into the last quarter of my research paper. I spent close to 3 hours editing my neuroscience project on the topic of the mind and the body interface. I needed to stretch, take a break, so I walked over to the Island Grill and ordered a couple mahi tacos with mango salsa. Unreal kind. I walked back to my study station after that, and then at the coffee shop, having some lunch. Halfway into my second taco, Ralph strolls up with two tourists. They're beaming with radiant smiles like they just discovered El Dorado. Coney, you won't believe this one. Ralph sets me up for another fish story. Like, but this is unusual because he doesn't normally bring his tourists to lunch or to coffee. He doesn't really, hang out with them outside of, from what I could tell, outside of the charters. He pulls three chairs up to the table, invites the crew to have a seat with me. Coney, this is Diane from Chicago and Ken from Maui. Hey guys, this is Coney. He's a great surfer and he's getting his master's in neuroscience at the University of Hawaii. I smile and shake their hands. Aloha, guys, welcome. Close my laptop and invite them to get comfortable. Ken, show Coney what you caught on our expedition today. Ken opens up his bag and pulls out a small glass bottle with peeling red wax and a cork. There's a strip of white paper and a small single dose of Advil, package of Advil ripped open. Ralph looks at Diane and then me. Diane, show Tony your keepsake, or Coney. I'll use the word in the story. Show him your keepsake. So Ralph, charter guest, put all the items on the table. Diane gently places the tiny gold coin on the table. I recognized the dull clanging of gold hitting the old wooden table, not like a sound of like a regular clad quarter or coin, but more of a duller, softer sound. You guys found this floating in the sea? I inquired further. You kidding me? And Ralph jumps in. Even better. Then Ken interrupts. It was in the belly of a mahi mahi I caught. Ralph chuckles. You guys really did hit El Dorado. That is, if you're from Mexico, because that's what a mahi's called there in Mexico and California. Ralph continues. I asked Ken if he would wanted to ship the mahi mahi to Maui, but he decided to have me get it right there for fresh sushi. So we opened the fish up. There was a message in the bottle right there in the mahi's belly. Never have I seen anything like this before. This must have rocked Ralph's world because he wasn't the sentimental type. He was mysterious, but not so sentimental. I enjoyed seeing the master storyteller mystified himself. There, on the open table in front of me, was a small glass bottle, a very tiny gold coin, an open package of Advil, and a strip of paper with something handwritten on it. A curious thought began to rise from my short term memory when Ralph reiterates, I've seen a lot of things in the stomachs of fish and sharks, but never this. I've seen children's toys, glass fishing buoys, hooks, nets, but never this. Then I recall the family. I recalled the family on the lava cliffs earlier today throwing something into the ocean. Could it have been that message in a bottle with these items? And even more interesting, could the Mahi Mahi have mistaken this fish for a meal? I glance up at Ralph as his salt crested eyelids squint inward. Mahi go for surface bait. The fish may have mistaken this glass bottle for a smaller fish. Ralph, I saw a family of three earlier today throwing something off the cliffs at Waikokos. Do you think it could have been this? Possibly, and the offshore winds that picked up this afternoon could have blown out the trolling lane where Ken caught the mahi. Meanwhile, Diane was stepping into the conversation and reached for the gold coin. Isn't this cute? I wonder if this is real, Ken. Thanks for the gift. I feel like you should keep it since you caught the fish. No, I want you to have it after hearing about your busy life in Chicago and trying to find free time in your life. I feel like this may be a sign for you to contemplate. I asked to see the coin. Can I see? Wait, wow. It looks like Jesus is in the middle with a bunch of saints around him or apostles. I see the date. Looks like 2007. I pick up the coin and I do an internet search. My results show a 2007 Liberia 1/50th of an ounce gold thaler. It features a condensed snapshot of Christ's life with his face in the center, surrounded by scenes of his birth, the Last Supper, and all the apostles with their names and faces. Guys, this is like a message of a faith in a lifetime right here on 1/50th of an ounce of a gold coin. Spectacular. And Liberia means a land of freedom. Diane clenches the coin and puts it back in her pocket. I am so inspired by this. Thanks, Ken. I reach for the strip of paper and it reads, we hope this note finds you well and these items provide you with hope and relief to get you back on your given journey. When you make it to a computer with the internet, email us at surfersandhealers@gmail.com. Ken stands up and hobbles a bit and then shares, I've been waiting to get a knee replacement for several years and I was in a lot of pain this morning. Fighting that mahi took it out of me. My knee was killing me, so I took this Advil and I'll have to email this mysterious person later. Ralph stands up, gathers his guests to go clean up. He prompts them, okay, guys, let's let Coney finish up his homework and let's get back to the boat and get our stuff. Diane and Ken both wish me luck on my paper and say goodbye. Thank you for dropping by. Nice to meet you guys. I hope the good luck continues, I encourage. On their way out, Ralph turns to me and slyly comments under his breath, try putting that story in your mind, body paper, schoolboy, and you could title it Malady Mahi. Okay, thanks for listening to part one. In part two, we're going to discuss how the story was crafted and how long it took, discuss the setting, some of the intentions, and different things like that. Thanks for listening.